Good morning, everybody. We are back with Railroader. This is the third video. In the last video, we were trying to get the tutorial to spot your first car to work, and it never did. So now I've, at this point, just given up on that. But we're back here on our railroad, the Northwestern Lines, and we are currently sitting here at the Whittier engine facility, and we've got number two here, and number one in the last video was still undergoing repairs, but it's back in service. I've actually skipped a couple days, so now you're seeing maybe 2 or 3 days in advance of the last video that we put out. But anyway, here's where we are currently sitting. Here is the state of the Northwest line, or the Northwestern Lines Railway, as we currently sit. Number one engine is working, and it is currently up at Connolly Creek. Yesterday, we grabbed the empty log cars from the sawmill, and we got them moved up in on spot for loading. That's going to come into play because this is the first day that we're able to have a contract with the sawmill. And so we're going to be doing some work with that. Also, we have sent for some cars to start the first phase of the Ela Bridge repairs to get the Ela Bridge back in service. That'll help us eventually to expand westward, which is the goal. Not in this video, but that is one of my goals for the near future. And so that is kind of the plan. Now, here is something that I've done to get the railroad kind of moving and expanding a little bit quicker. I've hired an advisor. Yeah, that's right, a railway advisor to help me with these projects and to basically expand the Northwestern Lines as quickly as we can without being, a little too stupid with our money. And so this is what the advisor has essentially told me that we should be, focusing on in the next few weeks here. So the bridge project, that's going to be one of our projects that we do as sort of a, that's going to be more of a maybe over the course of the next couple weeks that we get the materials and whatnot to get that going. But one of our big things that we're going to start focusing on now that we've got the railroad kind of moving is the logging and sawmill industry. So I guess something that I wasn't really that too up on was, serving the industries. And my thought process, I'm going to start moving here too. My thought process was that, with the industries, we should serve them all, basically as much as possible, keep them all happy. And my advisor said, no, that is not the way you should go about it. He said, give all your attention, or most of your attention at least, to the industries that pay you the most. So that is going to be the sawmill. We are going to make sure that they are incredibly, incredibly happy so that we can get them to ship more with us. And my goodness, we have a lot of cars here. So I was kind of excited to see so many cars on the interchange this morning. This is great news. We're going to get these cars over here, and then I'm going to attempt to make a switch list so that I have sort of a running list of what we've got going on. All right, so this advisor has told me, that's going to be one of our big things. Early on in this game, we are going to make sure this sawmill is just, let's see, are we good on coal? Looks like we're good on coal. How about water? I'm going to say we're good for water. Maybe we'll stop and top it off before we depart the yard with this. I'm going to send number 2 down to tie on to the interchange, but the first task is probably going to be getting those log cars moved here. As I talked about in the previous video, I'm going to kind of run this railroad not as a like first person like engineer kind of deal, but more of like, I'm the manager of this railroad. That's sort of the purpose of Railroader, I think. And I'm going to try to run this railroad from like the manager's perspective here. So that's why we've got the advisor. That's why we've got, our settings currently set. So we're using like the AI engineers, auto engineers, and yeah, so we're going to do a lot of that stuff. My impression of the game so far has been pretty positive. This is a really cool game, and I know I've said that about the past games that I've played, but this one sort of has a, what's the word? There's a certain like simplicity to it, and at the same time of it also having so many really cool like advanced like features that you just don't see in the other train games. So this one has, good marks with the graphics. The sound is pretty good. The mobility, like how you're able to move around, the different ways you can control the trains, all of this is really, really something. So yeah, as far as variety goes, you don't really have a whole lot of variety as far as like there's only one map right now, but it'll change in the future. And you only have a set amount of like different pieces of rolling stock, and the rolling stock is sort of it's really basic looking, but that's not like a super big deal breaker, at least for me it's not. The way that the game works is pretty realistic, I think. It's a great, if you're like learning, if you want to learn how railroads actually work, this is a great game to kind of teach you how, in my opinion. So like, if I was to stack this up against other games, like, Rolling Line is, you almost can't really compare the two. They serve different purposes, but Rolling Line is more focused on model trains and the low poly thing. It's more focused around building, and that's sort of like its forte. Is it's a different game almost altogether. And then you got games like, Train Sim Classic, that's, pretty much focused on the engineer aspect of the game. And then we're going to quickly move over to Conley Creek here while I'm talking. And then you've got, Train Sim World, which looks like our log cars are loaded and ready to roll too, I think, right? Let's check the tags. Well, they don't really say that they're ready, but we'll figure that out momentarily. Train Sim World is, I feel like ultra focused on the graphics and like the gameplay, but you're still sort of playing from the perspective of just the locomotive engineer, which is great to an extent, but it gets a little bit boring after a while, I think. So that being said, let's see here. Why won't you work? Okay, let me... need to select him anyways. Then you got like Run 8, which is kind of focused on it's focused on train operations, and there's a certain extent, but their Run 8 sometimes is built more for the multiplayer. Like you do kind of need a lot of people to play that game really effectively. And then Trains TRS is it's built for, it's got great graphics and all that. It's designed for building and all that, and it's probably probably the most robust game there is. But Trains TRS has sort of, I don't know, it has a quality control issue, I would say. It's just been around for so long, and there's just so much out there that it's difficult. So whenever if you want to buy, like, you want to have like a working working route, working equipment, you got to go through a lot to get that to work. And I feel like a lot of the newer games now, they're they're doing their best to, maintain that quality control. So Derail Valley, I'm also a big fan of as well. I think Derail Valley is not as realistic as the other games. It's sort of like the train version of American Truck Simulator. That's the best way I can describe it. But in itself, it's a fun game. But Railroader definitely meets a lot of requirements as far as like gameplay, the operational side of things. It's it's sort of like a Railroad Tycoon kind of deal, but just like very immersive. So I'm very excited to kind of play this out and see where it goes. We're going to do career mode with the Northwestern Lines. We're going to stick with that, and we're going to do our best to expand as quickly as possible. And hopefully, if you stick around and watch these videos, you will maybe take something from it. I'm hoping, because I am working to, make sure things are just a little bit more informative. So as of, if you've watched my videos for any extended period of time, you know that we are, I'm sort of a commentator and less of an informer, but, we're going to work on that a little bit here. So, okay, the reason why I keep just kind of like scrolling back and forth is that I'm confused. These log cars, they don't seem to have a waybill on them right now. Like, they're just sort of like, I don't know, what does this mean? It's just, you're just showing me the car number and you're not letting me select it, which is kind of a pain in the butt, because like, why aren't you doing the thing? I don't know why. And I'm not really sure where to go with that. Like, I can grab the car, but yeah, I don't want you. I'm just clicking random things at this moment. Okay, so right now, Connolly Creek, we see that we have, this just tells you what is available, which is great, but we need to find out like why these cars are just like not showing anything. This is a switch list. I'm supposed to be able to make a switch list by clicking on cars, but that's doesn't really seem to be. Add from a train, clean up, sort by destination, add from train. Okay, I don't know. I'm going to tie onto a car and just see what's going on here. So we're going to go to this waypoint deal because it's freaking great. And then click right there. Let it tie on. This waypoint, auto engineer waypoint feature is, and I've talked about this in the previous episode a little bit, but this is new. You don't see this in any other train sim game as of right now, where you just kind of click on a point and the train just knows where to go. And, this is something where like maybe the closest you might find to this is in TRS, but TRS is so buggy that it rarely works. I've had so much trouble with it. We have that car now. It's there. It's just not built. Like, is there something that I'm doing wrong with? Let's go to the sawmill. We have tier 1. It's available. So, yeah, tier 1 not yet reported at this tier. Well, what am I supposed to do? Production stopped on logs. So my advisor told me that this is like the most important thing to do is to start this contract, and I don't seem to. I have the contract right here, right? So tier 1, no change. It wants 8 cars per day, 8 log. Maybe these log cars just sort of work like that. And, we're just going to go with that for now. But back to the whole advisor thing. So the advisor told me one of the things that we need to start focusing on immediately is getting some more log cars. Expand the fleet of log cars, because this is going to be where we put a lot of our focus in the beginning of the game. And so I'm trusting them. We're going to see how this works. Okay. We're not going to come back and grab this caboose just yet. We are going to go out. What am I thinking? See, I'm thinking small with this, and you just don't have to do that. with this auto engineer feature, I can click where I want this train to go, which is all the way over here. So he's going to shove this car up here. We're going to shove the car, let's see. We're going to shove the car up here because when we get the car up here, then we will be able to come around, tie onto the logs, get them all lined up together, run around again, go down, grab the caboose. So that's what we're going to do. So yeah, one of the moves I made yesterday was sort of just like setting up this move for today, which is to get the log cars loaded, but then there is no reason at that point to bring this engine all the way. See these little green arrows, they tell you where your route is currently heading, which is great. So, we have to do the things. I'm sorry. Let's get down to first person perspective here and get this equipment all put together. Going to give it the reach around. That should have released the handbrake. Okay. Excellent. Goodbye. So we're going to focus on these log cars, as sort of our immediate thing, get some more log cars and all that. And this advisor's basically told me this is the, a good first step because it's going to make us a lot of money. So we're going to do that by, picking up some more of these cars. We're also going to be working on getting these things done first thing in the morning, because we want to expand to the additional tiers with the Whittier sawmill. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to listen to what he says. We're going to follow along. And if the railroad goes bankrupt, I'll fire him. A couple of the other things that the advisor told me that would be a good idea to think about on top of the Whittier sawmill thing is to work on ELA farm supply. That's the next big priority, because that will bring in a moderate revenue stream with steady demand. So it's going to be useful. It's not going to be as useful as the sawmill. And to go back to the sawmill real quick, other reasons why the sawmill is so good is because you take logs and you're going to be able to turn that into other things that are even of higher value. So lumber, for instance, pulpwood, I think, as well. And so with that being said, it's going to be things that it's going to basically help expand with the sawmill that you're just not going to get with the other places because they're not necessarily growth drivers. Basically, bottom line is sawmill is best to start with, to focus on at first. Then the next big thing we're going to be working on is that moving west of Ela, getting the bridge fixed. This is not something we're going to be doing like super right away, but we are going to start the process of getting it going now, which basically just required me to buy some cars, not buy rail cars, but buy materials, which we did. They're now at the interchange because it takes, I think, the next day they show up at your interchange, which that works out pretty nicely. So the things we're going to be focusing on if we do end up taking on some debt is going to be for the expansion of our rail car fleet, not our locomotive fleet, our rail car fleet, getting tracks basically extended to other places, and then working on getting our industry tiers up. So those are going to be the things that we work on daily. And then our current operational plan, our operating plan right now, every railroad needs an operating plan, by the way, is for the morning to be the logs. We're going to get those logs moved, and then midday we will start working on industries, and then in the afternoon we can start getting things kind of set up for the next day. All right, so we have now discovered our issue as far as the waybill situation goes. So here was the thing. I set these cars up yesterday to be loaded, but that was before the contract for the sawmill was ready to be made. And that being the case, what ended up happening was the cars were not assigned in the waybill of the car here, the operations of the car, we're not assigned a unloading point because it wasn't available because I didn't have that contract set yesterday. I have the contract set now, so now I can go ahead and get that car. And I'm going to go ahead and click this little auto copy auto waybills to coupled cars. Yes, please. There we go. That's how that gets fixed. So we'll also work on you here. There we go. So that fixed that problem. We're learning very slowly, but we're getting there. Let's see. There is a handbrake on this car. Release the handbrake. That should get this train moving. And it does. Very well. So yeah, we're going to give a lot of focus to this this logging business to start out with, and we're going to hopefully start our expansion to points beyond the current railroad. And I have a lot of optimism for this to actually work out, especially with the advisor now helping me. You know, so I suggest you guys get yourself an advisor too if you haven't considered that. That's a great idea. And here we go. Or I can just be your advisor. You can watch these videos, and that's another way to help out. I'm going to tie onto these cars right here. Oh, wait. There we go. My bad. I was I was Dutch uncling this. It was already doing its thing, and I got involved, which is a problem. Yeah, so my bad. I'm gonna just step out of the way and let you guys do your thing. There we go. Okay, so we have to shove all of these cars in the clear so that we can do the runaround move. And so we're back in the fly mode here for a quick moment. We need to clear, not too far, just a little itty bitty bit, but since we're already tied on, we may as well shove them all the way down to the end, because we're going to have to go the distance one way or another, so we're just going to do that now. All in all, this has actually worked out pretty well so far, and again, the auto engineer features on this are pretty awesome. They're very helpful for, you know, getting things done, I think, a little bit quicker and a little less tedious. So especially if you're a person like me, you know, you struggle with like ADHD and all that, this is a super cool game for you to get into. And you know, so going with Railroader, this is kind of, they're just getting started with what they're doing, and you know, in the future, you know, new routes, new like maps to see, new equipment, it's all coming. And you know, that's another thing too, is I haven't tested out every piece of equipment, like every locomotive and all that in the game just yet, but just looking at the current like catalog of locomotives that are available in Railroader, and then also like the mods that are available, it's actually pretty robust for just having gotten started. So that's great news. And let's go ahead and hop off right here. That's great news, and it's, I think, something that is super like helpful in a lot of railroad like train simulator games. Sort of like skip that, like they're relying on third parties to make all their stuff, but there's just buying the game at its like start is you're already getting a lot of great stuff in it. All right, so we're going to snag the caboose, and then we are going to head back to... Man, I left the doors open on this caboose all night long. There's going to be mosquitoes and all sorts of nasty things in there. Goodness gracious. What kind of railroad manager am I? Are we having trouble? Oh, I guess this is a pretty big... oh, yeah. It's a heavy train with all those logs on it, so we're currently having trouble with that. Number one is not handling this move very well. It's doing it, it's just not doing very well. I wonder if I stopped. Okay, here's a thought. We'll see if this works. I don't think it's going to work, but so this car should have already well been bled off just because we cut away from it a while ago. But let's just see. So what you can do, and I have kicked a car already, so I know it works, is you can click the car and you can click bleed. Bleed is going to get rid of all the air, which also will release the brakes in theory. And then if I release the handbrake, the car might roll downhill since it seems to be on a hill, and it does. Look at that. That's amazing. Okay, we'll hop on because we might need to get this handbrake at some point. Coupling on a curve might be a bit of a challenge, but I don't know if that's actually like a thing in the game here. Whoa, okay, so that was almost immediate. My bad. Okay, we're rolling again. So the handbrake kind of has an on-off, and it's pretty strong, but we should just be able to. Oh, that was a. So yeah, you might want to like stop it just before the end. But yeah, so that's a way to do it, I guess. You know, use things like that to your advantage. But we're going to go into the company menu here in locations. I'm going to click the sawmill. I'm only doing that so that I can do the jump to thing and get me back to the sawmill, because I want to bring this train, number one, back down to the sawmill, at least get it to right here for now, so that I can then figure out the next steps in this process. So, bloop, right there. And then I can give it the orders to start moving. And let's see, charging brake line, running to waypoint. Cool. So the status is running to waypoint. That means that train is moving. Now we're back here at Whittier, and I can just quickly look around at what I've got to do with this whole deal. We got lots of cars here. So it looks like, goodness gracious, so a lot of these cars, a whole lot of these cars, majority of them almost, are just for the bridge project. Once we get the sawmill spotted, maybe number one comes over here and grabs these cars, and then in the meantime, we can get that caboose swapped over to number two, and number two can handle these bridge cars, getting them over to the bridge site. I also have to consider now, so these cars are here. I don't know how exactly the Ela bridge site. I wonder how. Yeah, can I click on inspect? Okay, so operations, Ela bridge site. That's what I want to look at. Now, it looks like the Ela bridge site is literally just the track. So we just need to shove these cars over here, leave them at the bridge. You can see it as of right now. The tracks end right here. They don't go any further because this bridge needs work done. And then, of course, there's stuff on the other side to do. So, or stuff on the other side that needs to, it looks like there's a tree growing right on the track there. That's weird. I wonder if that goes away once this bridge is fixed. Anyway. So since I'm also in Ela real quick, I'm just going to fly over to the town, and I want to see if we have anything ready to roll. Yeah, it looks like this car, this EJE car, is ready to roll finally from the house. The farm supply is still going slow. I sort of expected the cars to like unload or load like overnight, but that just wasn't the case. If you watched the previous video, we did have this car to bring up to Stenzel from the interchange, which we did. And when I got here, that was when I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I thought I'd have something to pull, but I didn't. So this car ended up being spotted, but not necessarily in a position to be like actually placed in a loading or unloading position. Look at those. You can hear those brakes just squealing away coming down the hill. Once that train gets down there, we're going to have to start figuring out how we're going to move those cars around, because obviously there's stuff to go to the sawmill, because I need to know where these cars are actually going to get spotted to. This long track right here is just like a storage track of sorts, I believe, and the actual cars need to get offloaded somewhere over here probably. So once we make that move, then we can get the regular freight train on its way. That's another thing that the advisor had told me to do, which was to assign your locomotives to a specific task. So in this case, number 1 is going to be our logging operations engine dedicated to that. And so essentially each day we're going to have this number 1 doing logging operations, while number 2 does the local manifest stuff. So all right, we're here. Now we can start kind of getting an idea. They're going to go to R1, which is... Oh, okay. R1 is that track. That makes things a lot easier then. You are R1. Are all of you going to R1? I don't want any trick questions here. You know, it looks like everyone's going to R1, so that's cool. We will move into road mode here just to do this. Still in reverse. 10 mile an hour. I want to pull the caboose up and cut away from it so I can make the shove. That's all fine there. Road mode, the difference between that and like doing manually is you're not going to have to worry about the switches behind you. If a switch is misaligned, I think that in road mode, it's going to stop and not allow you to move if a switch is against you. Whoop. Which is why I kind of like that, because I don't have to like worry about my switch alignments a little bit more. This actually worked out quite well. Okay. That will do. Handbrake on. Eagle cock closed. Pin pulled. And now I can go into waypoint here. So that's going to do that thing. It's going to get those cars spotted. And in the meantime, I'm going to go start thinking about this freight move. As far as freight goes, we have some pulls to pick up from other locations, but basically our train is going to the Ela Bridge site today, with the remaining cars all going to the sawmill, which is going to work out because we already got number 1 kind of already locked and loaded on that. We're probably good there. That's because I told it to go to the end. Okay, so... Oh, they're already unloading. That was quick. All right. So, handbrake on. That closed. Whoa. Don't do that. Especially in real life, don't do that. Okay, I was thinking about just dragging all of this down. Drag all these cars down, and then we can cut away from the cars we don't want to take with us. Decisions. Okay. So we can cut away from the cars that we don't want. Could shove them that way. But if the caboose is there, then it's not going to help. You can't cross over easily. I need a crossover. That's the thing I really need, is a crossover. Can I build track this? If I could build track, I'd build a crossover right here to get out of the yard. But all right, so this is what we're going to do. Get rid of these tags for a moment. We're going to get this caboose out of the way, and then we're going to have the number 2 pull down. And when it pulls down, we can snag those cars off the train that we don't need. Yeah, number 2 to this point. Number 1 needs to get tied onto this caboose. trains are actually getting heavier. That's a thing to think about, I guess. That might actually be a problem. We're gonna have to think about that. Everything came nice and blocked too, which was great. So like everything's like neatly organized when it comes to us from the Atlantic Railroad. But there is an option that you can change that will allow things to not come so neatly to you. And I think basically that just adds an extra step of like sorting everything out. So I have to look into it further to see if like there's any advantage to doing it that way, like financially or whatever. But if there's not really a financial advantage, I'm not going to change the setting. Well, right here, we're going to grab these cars, swing them over now. So the first step in that is going to be to switch back over to number 1. And with number 1, tell it to go to this waypoint right here, tie on. These actually go to different tracks. So it looks like SO1, SO2 is where the box cars are going to go. So they're going over there. And then C2 for this, I guess, a pulp, maybe pulpwood or something. Or lumber, I guess, too. Where's C2 at? C2's right there. So, okay. And once we tie on, we can go about doing the things to... Perfect. I'm just thinking, I wonder if I could just roll these cars as well. Bleed these cars off. I think that should have worked. So now they should freely roll just like the other ones do, and then we'll see how much room do we need. It's basically that plus an engine. Again, I've bled the cars off, so that should make them, like, I can't use them for braking, but we're just sort of like in a switching environment right now anyway, so that's fine. It's more about just getting them moved instead of worrying about how the angle cocks work on them for the moment here. And then once this train's ready to run the road, we'll get the air set back up on it. I'm going to put myself right here, and then I'm going to, once this train gets to about where I need it, I'm going to just go ahead and stop it, because I'm actually already good to go, because this caboose is just going to get swung back over. We're actually going to do a kick, I think, and try to do that, demonstrate how that works. So these cars are free rolling, so we need to apply the handbrake. And then we don't need this. This can stay open because it's bled. And just decouple. And then we're going to go over here. There we go. To kick the car, I think you really need to be in manual to be effective. So now we're going to pull back on the throttle. Can I... There we go. Just kind of want to see where the switch is at. Okay, so we're going to do a kick on this car. And to do the kick now, we are, of course, already bled off, which is good. And we're going to go down here to the other end. I think that we can do this simply by getting on this car from right here. That's all set. And just going to kind of push this thing forward, then put the brakes on. So forward, off the brake, give it a nice good push. And let her go. Hopefully not too hard, but that helps us out. So now we can just go back to waypoint mode and tie back on. Well, that's coupling. Now we can just go ahead and start moving back to our position with the number 1. Getting tied back onto these cars here in the spur track. Perfect. And now, while that's going on, I'm laying on the floor of the caboose, it looks like. That's a strange position to be in. Okay. That's fine. Okay, Eagle Cock is in the right position. And go over here. Air hose is connected. Check. Air on. Let's see. That looks like it's good. Now the number 2 train's ready to depart for Ela Station. I can probably just give a little focus to that. So that's that. We're going to go to Ela. The station actually will be just a good starting point for this. I just want that train to come up to the station at this point. I don't want to go any further than that. Don't need to, because we're actually going to have to utilize this runaround before we make our final move. So set the waypoint to right here for the number 2. And then we can return to first person mode. That train should just start rolling on out. Again, we're switching, so there's no need to worry about the error as long as the cars are bled off. Well, they haven't really touched the... Oh, I guess they have touched the logs. The first car of the log cars that we brought down from Conley Creek are now... well, they're slowly starting to drop them off. They must, like, just, yeah, dump them into the water. That must be why this track is here. So I guess that makes sense. So then C2 is this first car. We are going to hover over top the car's little tag, and it's going to highlight the track. That car needs to go there. Now, the other cars are all going to those tracks, which can, that's fine. We're just going to put them right up against the dock as the next move. So I would not advise that move that I made with the caboose kicking. I would not advise that going into an empty, clear track. You want something for it to like tie onto, and you don't want it to be the bumping post. So this is actually going to be a pretty quick move right here. I'm going to just simply stand here. Once the train gets up to me, I'll uncouple this car, put the handbrake on, and then we just have to swing those 3 boxcars over to the other track, which will be a quick move. And then number 1's work is pretty much done for the day, and then we can go back to focus on number 2, which is currently on its way north up to, or not north, currently east. No, wow, excuse me, west. Currently west bound to Ela. Perfect. And that car should be dim now, which it is. It's, yeah. Dim or transparent, I guess you could say. Oh, got to switch against us. So this is another little thing that I've noticed is if you do use like the auto engineer feature, the switches only work and then go right back to where they were, which means if you switch between modes frequently, then you're going to have to like do the things to make this all work properly. And if you switch from perfect. If you switch from like auto engineer the waypoint mode to I dropped off, so okay, we're good. Drop it. If you switch to like manual from like waypoint, you need to be looking at your switches because the auto engineer feature is then no longer going to provide you those protections to stop you from like a misaligned switch or something. So we are officially spotted up at the sawmill, and we can now turn our attention to number 2. Okay, so we're in control of the number 2. That is evidenced by the check mark on my engine roster. This train's going to stop right here. All right, so we have some work to do. Number 2 needs to shove all of these cars up to the bridge. And to do that, we need to run around. while that's making its move, I'm going to go over here and we'll get this cart set up to go. Since it was left here, it should just be like pretty much ready, other than the handbrake needs to be undone on it. Yeah, so that's all good. Here's the handbrake. So this is the B end right here. So, okay. He ties on. I can undo the handbrake and then go about getting those couplers or the air hoses hooked up. Perfect. Okay, let's see. So handbrake is released. Oops, okay. And then air is on, and now we can go back up. Oops. This will probably be the most complex move I've made with this waypoint feature, but we'll see how it works. If it can navigate its way, and it looks like it's going to, that's great. So it's going to have to do sort of a zigzag move here. It's going to go back out, come back, go back out, and then come back. Okay, so this is going to require a couple steps because the air is routed the opposite way right now. So we need to get these air hoses connected, and then we need to go ahead and open the angle cock here, but we're not going to open this angle cock just yet. We need to go to the other end of the train, and we need to close the angle cock on this side because we're going to definitely need to control this train with air. Like, this is not a switching move you can do with the off-air style that we were doing at Whittier. So we need to make sure that we are using air brakes for this move because we want to control this train. So I guess there's just a distinction that you're going to have to make when you're deciding when to use that feature versus when you're not going to be using it. So we can now bring the air in nice and easy, and then that should be good. Should be building up pressure, and then we have handbrakes to get off this train. We're also, I think we're all set as far as we go on this end, so I'm going to walk on the pavement because it's much smoother. I'm going to ride this car. Is this... I guess they're both kind of crappy. I'm trying to think, like, we're going to go around a curve up there, and I want to be on the side that I can still see everything. So I think I'm going to choose to ride on this side of the car. But we're going to, let's see, go to road. Direction is, let's see, we're in reverse right now. That's incorrect. We should be forward, I think. And then we should be able to move here. Let's see how that works. Did I do everything right? I did. I think I did. Cool. Because whenever I do really complex stuff like that, there's always some sort of mistake. I always forget some little step. So I'm glad we got all that worked out. Now we can start making our way down towards the bridge, which I'm not sure exactly how far it is, but we'll start moving. We'll do 30. We're on the main, and I don't want to hold on to this car for longer than I have to. I know it's around this curve somewhere, but I just want to be... I don't want to go too fast because we can't afford an accident like that, especially with the bridge materials, which there's the river right there, so the bridge should be close. And I can feel us going uphill. Okay, that sign we saw earlier, so that tells us we're getting closer to the... Yeah, there's the bridge. Right there, so we're getting close. Can hop off, and let's see, we'll go ahead and put that handbrake back on. Oh, no. Let me do this the other way. Okay, I'm going to release this handbrake. I'm going to put handbrakes on the other end of this train because everything's going to be kind of like pushing down on this. So, yeah, because it definitely feels like we're on a... I actually don't know what kind of grade are we on right now? Like, was it downgrade to the... I think it's upgrade. I think it was upgrade to the bridge. So, yeah, and these cars are all dim now, which means they're on spot at the bridge site. I wonder if that tutorial ever recognized. Nope, still hasn't recognized. Yeah. Close that out. Useless. It's probably just a dumb error that I made somewhere along the way. I should have been paying attention to that. But I got so involved in switching that I just was like, oh, I'm just going to do this and it's going to take and we're going to be good. And that's not how that worked. But anyway, we're going to put a handbrake here on this end of the train. And we're going to put a handbrake on this car. And I think 2 handbrakes will do. So I'm going to cut away. Just pull this, pull the train away here now. Our next stop needs to be like around like the Holyfield area, Stenzels, where we need to go. This is going to be a move, so we'll get the train moving to this waypoint because we need to come up to this point here, run around, and then let's see. This is actually super easy switching, which is great. We're going to pull up here, run around, go in. So we'll set the waypoint to the crossing. That'll be where we cut away. And status is running to waypoint, which means the train's moving. And then once we get run around, we can come into here. We just got to make a pull. But we also have to make a spot because this car that we left on the lead a previous day was going to be spotted and there was no room. But now there is. And now we can flip-flop the Illinois Central car with this Seaboard Airline car. Okay, so our number 2 has arrived to the Whittier Depot here to perform some switching moves. I have a new idea. This is a little different than my previous idea, but I think it's going to save us at least one move, which is we're going to tie on to we're going to do our switch move, leave both of these cars back here. That's going to like prevent one runaround move at least. We're going to tie on to the industry cars right here. And we're going to get them swapped or switched around. There's swap the IC for the SAL. Take the SAL with us. The SAL will come down here. We're just going to leave it. Let's see. Then we tie it back onto our train. Well, honestly, let's see. Yeah, so we got that. So we've tied on. Okay, let's see. Handbrake is on this car, so release the handbrake, bleed it, I guess, and then tie it onto this car. Thank you. Okay, so then yeah, it's going to add, maybe it ends up working out where it's not actually saving us a move, but it's now the move we are committed to doing, so we're going to have to stick with it. But the SAL cart basically is going to have to go, yeah, so let's make sure that the handbrake, okay, yeah, actually I think that will end up saving us a move, because once we get this car, we just need it out of the way. Like, it doesn't have to even go that far. Right here is just fine. We need to apply its handbrake, and then we need to click the coupler thing here, and then we need to tell the train to go back over here and tie on, which we're doing. Okay, and so now here's a situation where I'm using the bleed and the moving cars off air again, which I explained in the previous, like when we were doing the sawmill, that we were, not going to use that method to spot, but this is a slightly different situation here. I could have probably even kicked this car into the industry track, but you would, in theory, you don't want to do that just because people don't know. You don't want to just do that to like a place where people are gonna like be unsuspected, not suspecting a car to just roll through them. The only like move that really kind of didn't help us was this last move where I set this car over towards the crossover, just because now I have to double handle it. Like, I should have just gone all the way out and set it to the siding track, and then when I went and got rid of the other car, we would have already been kind of like set up for that next move. But this is just going to add one little extra step into the process. Overall, though, I think it worked out quite well. So now we know that Stenzel can at least take 3 cars. That's good to know. That even just a little bit of space just to get like a wheel set on is going to qualify as a spot. Yeah, all right. Okay. Anglecock is good. The other one's going to be good too. So that's just great. We're already basically set to do this. So just need a hook and get the air going. Yeah, I did it. I went all the way to the top to do it. We should be set now. Perfect. So now phase 1 of the bridge project is kind of set. Let's go ahead and look at our milestones, I guess. And got phase 1 of 3 right now. Let's see. Does it really tell you? So Ela Bridge, well, we've got them spotted. Hopefully. Deliver 13 cars to the bridge site, which we did. These cars will be delivered to the interchange the next time. Deliver 13 cars to Ela Bridge site. We did that. These cars, okay, yeah. So it's just telling you where they're going to be. Well, that part is done. We've done that part. We need a diesel fueling stand, which doesn't cost a lot. And then purchase track to Silva, which is going to be $7,500, which we don't have. We'll have to take on a loan for that, which we will. and adds 12 miles of main line east, which we want to do. The diesel thing I just don't really understand, because it's like, why am I going to buy a diesel? Like, is that the next step, is to, like, it just seems so like, oh, right here, but maybe that's something we don't have to worry about, like, right up front. It's something we can worry about down the road. Let's see. So that's the thing I want to work on next, I guess, is purchasing the Tracta Silva, but then also my advisor told me to buy some more equipment too, so we need to worry about getting some more of these skeleton flats, which we will work on in the next video. So the loan that I get will probably be with, let's see, yeah, the loan that I get will probably be maybe 5,000. Oh, okay, so I can only get a $5,000 loan. Dang. That's just barely gonna get me to where I need. Oh, I can take out a maximum of 22,000, which, like, I'm all for that, as long as my advisor's okay with it. As long as my, I don't know, maybe I'll have to ask my chief financial officer. Okay, let's close that out for now. We've made it to our point, so we can stop. Yeah, so I think I'll just have to figure out what the number is going to be on that, and then in our next video, we're going to buy some more equipment. Maybe get that Silva expansion done. The bridge still needs to be repaired, and that's something that we're in the process of, and it doesn't seem to be registering. I feel like on the milestone things with this in progress, oh, I guess it says it's in progress, but like, I feel like I've now completed the first phase by getting those cars there, but there's probably an element of time that I'm not considering that needs to be considered for it, so we'll get there eventually. Cool. All right, so got the caboose now. I never had a handbrake to begin with. I think that the pin's already pulled, so we're good there. And then we can just get this back up over here. I'm trying to think of where I should put this caboose. I want to get it out of the way, so we are gonna actually set this caboose over to this track. Just because that way it's on the right side for the next move. Or maybe on this track right here. Actually, maybe on that track over there. That'll save us a move in the morning. So we got that done. Let's go into fly mode real quick here, because so while that train is now backing up, we're going to put the caboose back here. While that's going on, see how this logging operation's going. The mill seems to have cars on spot, and also a lot of these logs have slowly been set down there, so eventually we can get these empties back up. Now here's my thought process, is that we've brought the loads down and we have everything set for the day for them to unload. I'm wondering if we advance the time just a little bit towards the end of the day, get all those logs off the train, and then we can take it back up for another set. That way we can come down early and get them loaded. I almost want to have like 2 sets in rotation. So if I could get like maybe 8 more of these logging cars, then I would be able to like set them up so that I got like them in rotation. And let's see, maybe even have more eventually. So that's a thought. That's going to be a thought. We also need to maybe think about pulpwood too. So it's just all the things. Yeah. So that's that. Yeah, we don't just want to pull forward into the barn. Should be good. Oops. Here we go. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, so that's I think what we're gonna do. Yeah. All right. So that's all taken care of. All right. So that'll do it for this video. We have taken care of our first day of logging, and we've got cars spotted to the Whittier sawmill, and we've also got our first pulls from industries today. And then in addition to that, we got our first 13 cars spotted to the Ela Bridge project, so we can get the bridge repaired and back in service. And now number 1 and number 2 are back into the barn for the evening, and we will plan out another day for tomorrow. And I hope that you will join me for the next video. And until then, have a great day. Goodbye.